it makes me feel bad to even tell people I'm from Nashville sometimes when it comes to, because that's the way Nashville's supposed to be, you know. I mean, they got one club there.
I was really disappointed the first time I went up there. I was expecting, picking on every corner.
That's what I was too. I thought it would be like Las Vegas, you know.
A lot of people in Nashville like the Shane Circus.
Really? They won't support a fucking club, man. You know, you can try to get it together, but they just won't support.
Nashville's got too much of goddamn northern eastern influence, man.
But man, if you got a football team, man, you can make $1 million. You know, I mean, that will come out to see a fucking football game in a minute. Sure. Yeah.
Always got to. Well, that's for the LA.
Actually, even in New York, you don't find that much good entertainment going on at once.
That's for sure.
There's definitely, I guess, 2 or 3 or 4 fairly good clubs up there.
What's your size?
Montana Dick on here. Y'all gotta see Montana Dick.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, these are hats now.
Yeah, there's that big.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Shit, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking for.
Be like them prices.
Only $5.
Huh?
That's 1941 stocking catalog.
Yeah.
$350.
This says 6500. It's not one of ours. So I sure if that fits
It's
me.
like the one you did.
It's a little bit small.
I don't know what size hat I wear.
Any of these is exactly what I'm talking about, man. Any of these. This thing, this, any of these styles. These.
You need to be real skinny.
Well, I am real skinny, buddy.
Half an hour or so, I have a mark on my head.
I sported one I had one of the beaver shacks and it had that 4.5-inch frame on it. God almighty, I had to change it. It got too wild.
Really?
Got too wild for me.
Well, ain't never gonna get you out for me.
What kind of color were you thinking about? See, it depends on the body because you want a giant brand.
Monster blacks back.
Yeah,
Good, love them. Okay.
I can get you about what, 5-inch broom or something?
Yeah. You have some back there?
Yeah, let me go get one.
Yeah.
You got that other one, that thing is so loose, now you got it limbered in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just never would be.
Oh, you got it?
I wear most of black anyway.
I got
That's my head he's got on.
you. Bring it on. Set up 75.
Get you about a 7-inch crown. That'll come up.
You look like a shadow if you put that thing on.
Tell you what, I'll make it up and wear it tonight. We think about that idea.
Can I get a receipt for that?
Sure. I can get it tonight for the show back.
I'll go ahead and do it for you.
Yeah, get a,
I'll get you about a 7-inch crown out of it, which is pretty big. And we can do it. Style a variety of woods. We could, you probably want a wide ribbon on there, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you think about getting a ribbon on the edge of the grill?
Yeah, it'd be alright.
It's not necessary, I mean, it's just something to think about.
Yeah. It'd be alright to do that. We didn't bring any rhinestone hat back. I usually have rhinestone. That's not necessary.
You know, we can put a nice wide written, about 22 line or something. Just do this and right.
That's the kind of head rare.
We just got this about a week ago. There, you can't even find big brand hats like this anymore. This is several years old. It's hard to find. You gotta get that. Let's see what I can get out of here.
All right, thank you.
$3.
You got a hat?
Yeah, that's just an old.
No, he's going to pick you.
That's
You'd be surprised about some of the calls. You don't sell hats? No, we just take some hats.
Y'all sell hats. And now this is just a front for a gambling casino.
I'm serious. People on cell phone do all kinds of amazing things.
We don't know why it's buying right now. What'd you think about putting this on? We got one done right there, right there.
I like doing that.
Oh, they're ready, $5 o'clock. Okay. If you can make it. Well, we might say what.
When we went in the studio with Leon and everything, they mentioned the fact that Leon cut some of my songs and called me Nashville's #1 outlaw, you know, and all that, you know, which is true, but which I never had got credit for before, you know. I mean, everybody did. They wrote all them fucking articles in the Music City News about Nashville Underground, and they mentioned everybody's name but mine, you know. And they mentioned motherfuckers that wouldn't even know what, you know, Nashville Underground country music was, man.
Now, the guy that was writing the stories, though, was, I know, Jeff Lane, who's an Englishman. I mean, he doesn't really know what's going on, I don't think, that well.
Well, see, Jeff Lane just writes about his friends, man.
Yeah. You know English Jeff was working with?
Yeah.
He does write about his friends, don't he?
You know?
You can always tell whoever English Jeff is staying with.
Yeah, whoever he is fucking living with at the time.
Right now it's Johnny Darrell. He's right
Yeah.
now Johnny Darrell. Johnny Darrell's putting him up. We saw him day before yesterday.
He came through last summer and slept on my floor a couple nights.
Yeah.
Just showed up, you know.
He's a nice fella.
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
like
nice
him.
enough.
But when I was in the journalism, man, I mean, I didn't give a fuck, you know, about personality. I mean, you know, like whether I really.
Oh, whether you like the person he was writing about or.
Right,
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
shouldn't make any
I
difference.
tried to exactly run it down. I mean, if they wasn't doing shit, I said they wasn't doing shit. If there was, I gave them credit. And here's my cigarette.
Are we doing something particular here? Just Christmas issue. Oh, I'm a Navy SEAL. Oh, sorry, man.
No, honey, now you can't get out here. You do.
Because I really got a lot of shit coming up, man. We got 2 sessions a day, and plus 2 shows a night when we're in Nashville.
Can your voice stand that?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I don't see how it can.
How much was that straw again? How soon is that LA thing? How soon is that LA thing after Nashville?
I don't know. It's That hasn't really been confirmed yet, I don't think.
They should have some film in here, I think. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you must have.
You can run up there and look.
Right, yeah, it's the, well, there hasn't been much showmanship
I know.
to speak of in country.
It's really went backwards, I think.
Nobody gets nudie suits anymore.
Yeah.
But who made your,
Those are nudie
is that
suits.
nudie? How long ago did you start the rhinestone? The rhinestone cowboy in the car?
Ever since I've been here, man. You know, even when on my first album, you know, like I was into, like, I had my name painted all over my hearse and everything.
You got a hearse?
Yeah. I used to live in the back of a hearse. I was living in a hearse, and Christopherson was living over top of Combine in a little room, and Newberry was living on an old fishing boat.
How long ago was that?
It was 6 years.
6 years? Did you go straight out of prison to Nashville?
No, I did a year on parole. I was down by Wheeling, West Virginia. My mother's got a farm. And as soon as I got off parole, I went straight to Nashville.
Had you been singing and writing a long time before that?
Yeah, I'd always been singing and writing, you know, mostly, you know, in prison, because I was in prison, you know. But I'd made a couple of little records in Ohio on a little label called Cabot Records, you know, where they press up 1,000 records. And but I always wanted to go to Nashville. And I left my wife and kids, everything, quit my job.
Just took off one day? What happens when you first show up in Nashville like that? What's the first thing you do? I've always wondered.
Well, the first thing I did when I got there, like when I pulled into town, I had like 20 cents in my pocket, you know. And I had gotten a phone number from a guy in Ohio. And I called this fellow on the phone that had a pressing plant. And he told me that I could just pull my car up behind his pressing plant and sleep there, and he'd meet me in the morning. And so he came down in the morning, and they fixed me up a little room in the back of this pressing plant, and I just sort of helped out during the day, you know, sweeping floors and carrying stuff, you know, like a stock boy. And then, like, he was doing a lot of custom sessions, and I'd play rhythm guitar and make money that way, and rewrite people's songs for them. And I sold some songs to some people, you know, to get by. Sort of the standard story, I think. Willie sold Family Bible, and I sold a song called Roadmap to Heaven for $50. And then we just, I just like hung out. Buzz Raven was playing at a place called The Wheel, and I met him the second night I was there. He brought me up on stage to sing, and we passed the hat around, got some money, and he was on Stop Records at the time. He was like selling his records off the stage for $1 a piece. And I told him I didn't have a place to stay, so he took me over to this old houseboat. It was like a sunken boat, you know, on the river, and stayed there with him for a long time. And then, like every Saturday morning, I'd get up real early
and drive my car downtown and park it right in front of the Opry. And stand and put money in the meter all day so that all the people that came by could read my name, you know. And so this reporter named Jack Hurst for the Nashville, Tennessee, and came by and saw me, and he says, "Man, who in the fuck are you?" You know? And so I just told him, I says, "Well, you know," I told him I'd been in prison 20 years and I had these, you know, wrote songs and everything. So he wrote a big story in the Nashville paper called Dave Coe Sings, Writes, and Hopes. And like it was really a good story. And down at the end he said, will David Allan Coe just be another drifter who comes to town for a matter of a few months and leaves discouraged, or will David Allan Coe be one of the future superstars of Nashville, Tennessee? You know, he says only time will tell. You know, it's really.
Were you the Rhinestone Cowboy then, or did you just have your name?
No, it was just my name then. About 3 years ago, Mel Tillis gave me a rhinestone suit. And because he says, I told him, I says, "Man, I've always wanted one of them suits, you know." And he says, "Well, David, I got closets full of them that I don't wear anymore, you know." He says, "I'll give you one if you really want one." He said, "If you'll wear it." I says, "I'll wear the son of a bitch till it falls off of me, man." You know? So he gave me my first rhinestone suit, and I really loved it, you know. And like I was about the only person that was in, and it was weird because I had long hair and a beard at the time, you know. And like my hair was like down to my waist, and I was wearing a rhinestone suit, you know. And it was really, really strange, and everybody started calling me the Rhinestone Cowboy, you know. And then I just got into like trying to get anybody that had rhinestone suits, you know, that wasn't wearing them anymore, I bought them, you know.
Well, do you think the people who more or less run things in Nashville taking you seriously?
I don't think they took me seriously until the Tanya Tucker record, you know. I think, and I think that that's probably the best thing that can happen to them, because they didn't take Christopherson seriously either. And when they don't take you seriously, then they don't consider you a threat, you know. And the next thing they know, you know, you've gotten past all them walls, man, and you're there. And then they have to recognize you when you write a #1 song. Then they have to stop and say, "Wait, how did you get through?" You know. You know, we let another one get by us. But they have to accept that. And, you know, it's really strange because you can tell. Now, there's people in Nashville like Foster and Rice that have written just hit song after hit song, and you never hear anything about them. But when, like, Would You Lay With Me was #1, there was more press about David Allan Coe. There was more everything about me, and people just coming up and saying, "Man, that's a great song." All because they never really thought, you know, they really never took me seriously. They never really thought I could write a hit song, you know. And that's one of the things where I just went from the Rhinestone Cowboy to the mysterious Rhinestone Cowboy after Tanya's record, because everybody started saying, "Well, man, this cat is not as dumb as people think he is. I mean, he's got something on the ball. You know? I mean, he's just not some flash hippie, you know, trying to, you know, come on to the country scene." I mean, he's really, because, I mean, anybody that listens to any of my songs knows that it's not a bullshit thing. I mean, if you listen to Melvin Montgomery's album and you listen to Hickman County Blues, I mean, that's as country as you could get, you know. And I think I'm the first writer that can really bridge the whole gap, you know. Willie seemed to, one of the things that Willie was impressed about, he says that I was filling a gap that wasn't being filled, you know, because I could write for the country people like George Jones and them people, and turn around and write for Leon Russell.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that Kinky, I think, was going to try to do, and wasn't really able to.
Well, I tell you, you know, Kinky, man, is like, most of his songs on his first album are really not representative of Kinky, you know? Because he writes good songs. He really writes good songs. And most of the things that he was writing, I think Kinky was trying to shock people into listening to him. I don't think that he really knows how good he is, man. You know? And I went through that, you know? And I'm still probably going through it, you know? I use a lot of crutches because actually, you know, I would probably get off much better if I didn't wear rhinestone suits, if I just went out there with my Levi's on the same, you know? But I don't have enough confidence in myself to do that, you know? I still think that you need them crutches, you know?
It's as much showmanship as it's a crutch, so I don't think after a while the crutches fall away.
Right. Yeah, I like to think it is. I'm just really into, I'm into show business. I'm into being an entertainer, and I don't think that people want to go see somebody that looks like the guy, you know, the guy sitting next to him in the audience.
Yeah. That's a sort of strike against people like Newberry, in a sense.
Yeah.
He doesn't inspire. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's a lack of showmanship.
Yeah. Well, Mickey is like a really great singer and a great songwriter, but he's really not into personal appearances that much, you know. And he should be. But Mickey doesn't think anybody likes him, you know. He really feels that way. You know, he really is terrified of going on stage and doing shows because he doesn't think anybody's going to like him. And wherever he plays, I mean, he is loved, man. I mean, he never fails to really kill an audience. And Willie has the same problem. We're trying to get Willie out of Texas, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Willie he knows he's accepted here, you know, and he's uncertain about what's out there, you know. He wants to feel within his head, man, that you know, they're out there, but he really doesn't believe it yet. I think Willie needs like another hit record, but you know, he really needs a #1 record, and to give him that confidence to go out on a national tour. And if he ever does, man, it's going to be like the new guru of country music, you know.
Yeah. What sort of reception did you get at Max's?
It was really great. It was like, it was standing room only every show, every night that we was there. And the people really got off on us. I was really surprised. We got a lot of good write-ups. And I really love it. I mean, that's going to be my club in New York, you know. They're having a big picture of me made up that says, "Welcome to Max's Kansas City, David Allan Coe."
Yeah, in a sense, judging from the type of people who go to Max's all the time that I've seen, you kind of outflash them. You know?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that was pretty strange.
They try hard, but it's not natural with them or something.
Yeah, it was pretty strange. There was a lot of transversisites. And people there with glitter on and stuff, and they was really looking at me like, you know, really stuck. Who is this guy, man? You know? But even when I don't have my rhinestone suit on, I sort of really attract people for some reason. It's like they look at me like they know I'm somebody, but they don't know who. You know? But they know that I'm not just the average guy, you know, just walking down the street.
How much of an influence on your writing and even the way you feel that prison had on you? Is that,
I think prison had a big influence on all my early stuff. I don't think it has any influence on what I'm writing today. Although every now and then I do go back and write a prison song, you know, like River that's on this album. I sort of want to stray away from that mainly because Haggart's already exploited that whole thing, you know. And the best thing that could happen, even if I wrote the greatest prison song in the world, is that people would say I was copying Merle.
that's true. I'm surprised, maybe I shouldn't be, that 20 years that didn't make you bitter, you know, it doesn't seem to have.
I think it did, I just don't show it, you know. I just accept the fact that there's no sense in banging your head against a stone wall, you know. I mean, instead of being bitter or hostile bitter, I'm bitter to the sense that I'm trying to improve things. Like, you know, I got a publishing company for convicts and ex-convicts only called Aliases Incorporated. Like, I brought the 7-Step Foundation into the state of Tennessee, which is a remotivation program for ex-convicts. I go to prison and give talks and do benefit shows, try to remotivate people's thoughts. And I'm sort of, it's like a personal fight against the system, you know, the prison system.
Now, obviously, the way the systems are, it's not meant to rehabilitate.
No.
As far as I can tell.
Prison systems are basically, I mean, it's just, when you go into prison, you got so much time to do, they expect you to do your time. They don't really care how you do it. They don't really care about whether you come back to prison or whether you don't come back to prison. I mean, if nobody came back to prison, they'd be out of job. You know, so they're not really into rehabilitation. You know, that's just all bullshit. But the prison systems have changed a lot in the last 10 years. I mean, I have to give them credit, but I think it's due to organizations like the 7-Step Foundation that this has happened.
Well, I guess it depends a lot on the individual too, where it would make some people bitter to the point of self-destruction. It would make some people determined to succeed, like you've done.
That's true.
Yeah. Just depend on you, what you were before you went in. Would
Right.
determine the whole bit.
Well, I made my mind up, you know, when I got out of prison that I was going to be a millionaire before I was 40. And I mean, that's what I'm trying to do.
Did your Columbia contract come after you did that song for Tanya?
Yeah. I went, Billy Sherrill told Ronnie Bledsoe about me, and I went over to play some things for Ronnie. I played about 3 songs, and he says, "Man, who do you record for?" And I said, "Shelby Singleton." And he says, "Well, I really want to record you, you know. Just to find out, you know, if you can get out of your contract." So I had a year to go with Shelby, and so we made arrangements and with him, you know, and bought the contract back. And they also bought all my old masters, you know, from me. So that if I ever do hit, it won't be another Charlie Rich, you know, 50 albums out.
Yeah. I'm going to try to find those old records. I haven't been able to.
I've got them. You get them when you come to Nashville. It's no problem.
I like to hear those. I remember seeing a review in Stone, one of them.
Yeah, Penitentiary Blues. Got a lot of press on all of them. I was on tour with Grand Funk Railroad, which was really
Are you
strange.
kidding?
No. That was really
Jesus, how did
strange
that
with the
go?
acoustical guitar, man. I was like
Oh, my.
opening act for Grand Funk.
How did that go?
It went really good. People really listened.
That's strange. How was this show at Rahway that you did?
Oh, that was really fantastic, man. In fact, we taped it. When you come to Nashville, you'll be able to hear it, man. I got a tape of the whole show.
Was that mostly blacks?
Yeah, it was really weird, you know. It was like 80% black audience, and but they really got off to what I was saying and what I was singing, you know, even though it was country music, you know. They didn't get off on any of the rest of the show, you know. I mean, they booed everybody else that came on stage, but and they kept saying, you know, David Allan Coe. And after the show, they all came up and shook my hand, you know. Told me they was proud to know me and everything. Because one of the big things that I am trying to do is to get people to stand up and say that they're ex-convicts. You know, people that's out here in the streets, man, that are, because men in prison have nobody to identify with except other men in prison. And when they get out, their sense of values is that the only ex-convicts that they know of are pimps, armed robbers, you know, people that are still out there committing crimes. And they don't have anybody that they can identify with that has really done good as an ex-convict. And this is what men need in prison, man. They need to know that there's professional football players that are ex-convicts, because they might want to be a professional football player, but they figured, well, you know, there's no sense in me trying because I'm an ex-convict. So consequently, subconsciously, they keep going back to prison because in prison they can be a football hero, you know. Or the same thing with anything, electricians, man, you know, or bakers or whatever. Like in prison, they are like the number one cat, like they run the bakery,
Right.
you know. And they don't realize that on the street, you know, they could own their own bakery shop if they want to, man. But all they need is for some guy to stand up and say, I own my own bakery, I'm an ex-convict. Then they can say, wow, man, you know, I can do that. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to get people to do, you know. And it's hard because nobody, you know, the whole thing used to be that you just didn't ever tell. I mean, there's people, man, that have been married for 30 years and their wives don't know that they was in prison, you know. That's how ashamed they are of it. And now, I mean, you shouldn't have to live that kind of, you know, with that burden on you, man.
You ever find that people are scared of you when they meet you if they think you're an ex-convict or an ex-biker?
Sure. Most everybody is, and it's good. I like it. You know, I want people to be a little afraid of me.
Clear a little path.
I don't want people to, you know, just think they can walk right into me, man. You know, I want them to know, you know, that they got, you know, to keep their distance until I accept them.
Right.
You're one of the few reporters that I would even talk to. I mean, I just don't, you know, I got other people that talk to them. I'll give them bios or something. Because 9 times out of 10, I would end up kicking their ass. You know, because just the things that they would say. And mainly because I've been misquoted so many times, man, you know. Like there was a thing in Country Music Magazine, you know. And like I love the dude that wrote the article, man. He's a good friend of mine, but he misquoted me, you know. He asked me, because I used to be a promotion man, and he says, what do you think makes a good promotion man? And I says, man, I think a good promotion man has to have a dream, you know. And so he quoted me as saying, David Allan Coe said he was a promotion man's dream.
That's cheap.
You know. And I didn't say that, you know.
You know, I've always been very careful with quotes because I know that's going to determine my next story, whether somebody's going to talk to me or is not going to talk to me.
Right.
You can do it once, and you don't.
Well,
After a while, you can't get away with it.
And like, we were just in Cleveland, and the guy wanted to interview me, and I says, man, where's your tape recorder? He says, I don't have one. I said, I passed, you know. Because there's no way that I can sit down in a room and talk to this guy. He's not even taking notes.
Yeah.
And then he's going to write a story about me and say what I said, you know. It's just definitely not going to happen. You know that. And I, I used to be into journalism, and I still am, you know. And we had a little old magazine called Sound Format, and I used to write a column for it. And I'll show you some of my work when we come to Nashville.
Was Charlie Lamb ever involved with that?
He used to own it. We
Yeah.
bought it from him. Bonnie Busey bought the book from him.
That's one thing Nashville needs is good.
Well, you know what I was going to do, Chet? I was going to start an underground newspaper called Third Generation Country. And at the time that I was going to start this paper, and I've already written all the stories, like I've got the whole first paper put together, and I wrote all the stories under pseudonyms and shit, you know, because I couldn't afford to pay nobody else to write them.
So you got a big staff.
Yeah. And it was really weird because right at the time I decided to do this was right around that paper shortage.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to hold me up to put the paper together, and I just couldn't do it. They wanted like $5,000 to print 1,000 papers. And I said, man, you know,
You
I
should
have to
do that
pass.
for $300.
I know it.
Myself, you know.
And so I had to pass. And like what I was going to do was like put out 2 issues. And then I was going to like go to Rolling Stone and see if they would distribute it nationwide, you know. As like the country edition of Rolling Stone, you know, it would be sort of like that. Because we really do need that, you know.
Yeah, country music is not doing really
Because
good
we
job
don't
with
get
it.
no write-ups. We get very little press, man. You can look back through the years and see how much press that I've got or that Willie's got or Waylon's got in those papers, man. I mean, we don't get it. George Jones gets it, Loretta Lynn gets it, you know. All those people are getting the press. We never got the press.
Our Music City News will once a year run a thing called Underground Country.
Right, once a year, man. You know, and like Rolling Stone and Zoo World now are like, and then Zoo World started to be a real nice thing. I mean, and now they're getting into writing about Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash, and you know, they're sort of doing like a tourist fucking thing instead of writing about the real country people. You know?
Nobody has yet, in any articles, put down an accurate sense of what underground country is supposed
That's
to be
for
about,
sure.
you know.
Well, you know, let me explain that to you, man. I'm sure that you understand why we have been labeled underground country. I mean, that's like calling someone a hippie or a nigger, man, you know? I mean, it's like the establishment saying, you know, these are not country people. They are just hippies that are trying to, you know, capitalize on the country music scene, and don't accept them as being the Nashville country music. And that's bullshit, because we are the real country music. We are writing the same thing. Real country music was established by Hank Williams, who wrote about truth, man. And he wrote about alcohol and drinking and shit because that's what he was into.
And he got kicked off the Opry for it.
That's right. And like today, man, I mean, we've all went through a whole drug cultural scene. We went through a fucking war, you know. And most of it, you know, most of the people now are war babies, man, you know. And so like we're writing songs about that, you know, like John Prine writing Sam Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, we're writing things like that because it's truth, man, and that's what real country music was supposed to be. And that's what it is supposed to be. It's not crew cuts and white buck shoes and all-American boy mom's apple pie bullshit. You know, that's not country music, man. You know, that's fucking Hollywood stereotype country music, like hee-haw. You know?
Yeah.
And that's a whole bullshit thing. I mean, I wouldn't play on that fucking show, man, if they gave me $1 million. You know? I just wouldn't do it. You know, because it's not real.
Well, what it seems to me, they still have a 40s mentality, not even a 50s mentality about what
That's
the country
right.
song is, you know.
That's right.
And country was always supposed to be people's music.
That's right.
Reflect what's going on in
That's
the country.
exactly right.
That's why people like you and Prine and Steve Goodman and Guy Clark and people like that are doing it.
That's right. And we are the real country music of the third generation, man, you know, and they're going to find it, and there's no way to stop us, man, you know. I mean, I could be like Cassius Clay, you know. And one guy called me that. He said I was a Cassius Clay of country music because I made all these statements about no one's going to stop us, and we're the greatest, and we're going to do, you know. But it's true, man. There's too many of us, you know. Like 4 years ago, there was 5 or 6 of us, man, you know, Nashville Outlaws, man, you know. But now there's hundreds of us, and we're spreading out every day, and we're getting more people, and it's just like a fucking infection. And we're taking over, and they can't stop us, man, because they're going to have to. And the people are realizing now, you know, just like my grandfather, you know, is digging like, you know, John Prine, you know, where he used to be digging Bill Anderson, and now he realizes that Bill Anderson is not where it's at, man. You know, that is like commercial, supposed to be sold to the public bullshit, but it's not real country music. And people want the real thing these days, man. We're tired of that bullshit.
Yeah. Do you find that the standard country crowd is coming around? Or I could see that in some way last night, but I haven't seen enough shows to generalize on it.
Well, I
It's
think
very country folk.
Yeah, but I think that was basically because of Bobby, man. Bobby seems to draw that type of audience. Now, like when I'm headlining a show, I get like 80% freaks, you know, and 20% rednecks. Yeah. But they all get along. I mean, I've never seen no trouble or nothing. But the thing is like we're trying to turn young people on to country music because young people buy records, man. You know, old people don't buy records. And out of all the types of music that there is, country music has never really had its day, man. You know, like blues used to be a great big thing. Rhythm and blues was a great big thing. You know, then it was like rock and roll was a great big thing. You know, polkas was a great big. But country music has never really been a great big national thing. You know, but I think it's going to be a national thing.
Has part of that been the mentality of people that run Nashville? You know, that I've always thought that there was not enough efficiency in that town to do it. That people had too limited an idea of what could be done.
Yeah, I don't think they really have a great imagination as to how far you can take country music.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, like, people were surprised when Tom T. Hall plays at Carnegie Hall and packs the place.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised, you know? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if George Jones played at Carnegie Hall and packed the place. You know, because people want to see the real thing. A perfect example, we just did this show at Rahway Prison. There was a guy there that looked just exactly like Johnny Cash. He had his hair combed like Johnny Cash. He dressed in black. He sang all Johnny Cash songs. I mean, he had a Johnny Cash fixation. But them guy, and he was good. I mean, he was better than Cash, you know. But the people booed him, man. They booed him because they want to see Johnny Cash. They want to see Johnny Cash. They don't want to see some motherfucker that's trying to be Johnny Cash.
There's a guy down in Houston calls himself Hank the Drifter who's trying to do that. And he's not. You know, he's more like Hank Williams than Hank Williams was, but nobody will go see the fucker.
There's those people in every town, man. Every fucking town. And it's really strange because, man, like, you'll go to a town and someone will come up to me and they'll say, man, you got to go down to this club and hear so-and-so, man. He's really good. He sounds just like George Jones.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I want to go see this guy for? I can go see George Jones.
You know, there's two guys here who get by copying Jimmy Rogers. Everybody thinks they're the greatest fucking thing in the world.
I mean, like, I do impersonations of a lot of country artists, but I do them as impersonations. But I still have, you know, I'm still David Allan Coe. I do my own thing, you know. But,
well, that's really effective when you can slide into Haggard for 4 words and come right back out again. That's really does something. Like when you're doing Darling, Darling last night, that was just funny as shit. That was,
I really like that
yeah,
song,
that
man.
was great.
Because I really like Steve. You know, Steve Goodman is a great person. There's so many good people, good songwriters and good singers that are just not, you know, really making it. That one of these days is going to bust loose, man. It's going to change this whole world. And I like to think that I'm going to be one of the first ones to make it. Because there's never really been a third generation superstar yet. You know? You know, Chris went so far. And then Chris got too involved in other things he was doing. He got into movies, he got into all these things, and he never really became a superstar. You know? Like they haven't really had a superstar since Merle Haggard. You know, like Merle was the last really big superstar.
I thought for a while Waylon might make it, but
Waylon's been on the verge of making it for years, man. And he could very well do it. You know, there's no doubt that Waylon could do it, man. Waylon Jennings is a dynamic dude, man. He really is. And it's all I can do to keep from, you know, I always tell him every time I see him, because Waylon really needs that. He needs people to tell him, you know. He needs it more than any of us do, I think. Waylon's he's really went through some bad changes with record companies and shit, man. They really got his head fucked around, you know. And he really needs that confidence. He needs people to tell him he's doing the right thing. Like, I'd like for him to play more lead guitar, man, because he's really a unique guitar player. I mean, you can pick out above everything. It's not slick, you know, and he really needs to play more lead guitar. You know? And I keep telling him that. This new album that he's got out is just fucking dynamite, man. You know? Really good.
what happens if you do break through and become the first one? Say by the time you're 35.
If I break through and become the first one, I think it's going to open doors for a lot of people. Because regardless, I think, you know, the good thing about all of us young dudes that are in this thing is we don't have the attitude that the old people had. You know? It's like someone made the statement as we was coming over here, coming down to do this gig, you know? Like Tom T. Hall was on the plane and Ray Stevens was on the plane. They was riding first class and their band was riding in the coach. And I'm riding in the coach with my band. You know? And someone said, David, what are you doing back here? I said, I'm a fucking guitar picker. This is where we're supposed to ride, ain't it? You know? I'm not no motherfucking superstar, you know. I'm gonna ride up front. That they eat at one table, the band eats at another. I mean, fuck that shit, man. You know? I mean, if I didn't want to be around these people that's playing with me, man, they wouldn't be in my band, you know? I mean, they're not just totem poles that's there, you know, to be done like that, you know? It's weird. Another guy asked me, he says, why don't you never introduce your band on the stage? I think that's bullshit, you know? If you introduce your band on the stage, no one really gives a fuck, you know? They don't know who they are. But if you don't introduce your band, then reporters get uptight. And they come and they say, sir, when you hear those first two albums, you will realize probably more than anybody just how deep I really go sometimes. I mean, sometimes it scares me too, you know? Sometimes I'll write things or say things and I'll listen back to a recording, you know, because we record all of our shows, and I'll say, damn, did I say that? I mean, I really make some profound statements, man, you know, that I don't know where it comes from. it's like there's a force or something within me, man. It's like, you probably get into
I
that
know
when
what you
you're,
mean, yeah.
when you're writing, man. Do you ever do that?
I get things I have no idea where they came from.
Right, man. It's really strange.
It comes from somewhere. The only other songwriter I know that I can compare you to like that would be Willie. He really
Oh, yeah.
gets into things like that. I'm sure he could never explain it.
No, I know he couldn't.
Where it came from.
I know he couldn't.
He goes way deep.
Yeah. Willie and I, we go from one extreme to another. It's like, we're probably the two, we probably stand out as writers more than anybody that there is that's really writing today, man. I mean, when you hear a Tom T. Hall song, it's like, man, I've heard song after song after song, and it seems to me like all he did was change the words and use the same melody, you know? And so many other people the same way. But I've had people, when I tell people I wrote certain songs, they'll say, "You wrote that?"
Yeah. I didn't know you'd written Dakota.
Yeah.
Now that knocked me over, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the best fucking songs I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, Larry Murray and I wrote that. You probably heard Johnny Darrell's version of it, which, see, Larry wrote Dakota Part 1, which Johnny cut, which was like a watered-down version of the one that we wrote. But no one would cut the one we wrote, so, and I told Larry, I said, well, fuck it, man, you know, if you want to change it, you go ahead and just leave my name off of it, you know.
That's true. Nobody else stands out really as a writer the way you and Willie do. Even Guy's stuff.
Yeah.
I can tell one of your songs generally. I didn't know Dakota was, and I can tell one of Willie's. Nobody really does it. But with most writers, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You take Harlan Howard's stuff. There's no way in the world you'd ever know it was him.
I know it. Boy, he's such a great songwriter, though, man.
Well, he is great, but he doesn't have his stamp on his stuff, you know, or his brand on it, what some people do.
Yeah, I think that's almost as important as having your own sound as a singer, man.
Hank Williams said it.
Right. I think that's what it takes to make a superstar, man. It must just, you know, it separates you from just the everyday motherfucker.
Do you think it would make any big difference inside you if you were, like, to make it that big, you know, as young as you are?
No, the only difference it would make would be in my lifestyle. You know, that's the only difference it would make. I am really into to being comfortable. I mean, I don't give a fuck if they call me a hippie capitalist or whatever they want to call me. I'm really into having a big southern mansion with 50 rooms in it if I can afford it, and a swimming pool, you know? Because, man, I wasted 20 years in prison, you know? And I just want to live now. I mean, I'm fucking tired of dying. As Jimmy Buffett says in 3-4 times.
He was on that show with you at Max's.
He canceled. He was supposed to be on. He canceled. I wished he would have been there. Jimmy and I was the first ones that ever played at the Exit Inn. Me and Jimmy and Diane Davidson opened the Exit Inn up when it started in Nashville. It's really a good fellow.
That's another thing about the superstar business. I sometimes think that one reason Chris kind of backed off is that psychologically he might not have been able to handle it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not many people could. I don't think they're strong enough inside.
You know, the hardest thing for me is like, it's not, people always say, well, you changed. I didn't change, they changed. They're the ones that change, man. They start looking at you in a different light, you know? They don't look at you like they did before. They start looking at you differently, and they're the ones that change, you know? And like, it's just like with songs, man. People have to realize that I've got over 5,000 songs that I've written myself, man. You know, that I want to record, you know? And like, people are always coming up playing me songs, you know? And they get mad if I don't do a song. You know, if I don't do one of their songs, they figure I should do one of their songs. And like, I do other people's songs, but I can only do 2 or 3 songs on an album, and that really limits me, you know, to what I do of other people's material. You know, and I gotta fight the record company to do that, because they want me to do all my own songs, and I'd like to do all my own songs. But there's, you know, but I also want to help my friends too, you know. Because, I mean, I think they should be heard, and I don't think that I'm God when it comes to writing a song, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people that write better songs than I do, man. I think they should be heard. And I think I sing other people's songs better than I sing my own, you know.
I didn't think that. I wonder why that would be.
Probably because I just have the confidence in other people. Mainly because I never write for myself. I write for other people. I always have someone else in mind when I write a song. And then it's really frustrating when they don't do it. Like if I wrote a song for Cash and he says, well, I passed, then I feel it wasn't a good song. And so I don't feel good about singing it. You know? But I really wrote a lot of songs for Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, and I've never played any of my songs for either one of them. And I just never have been able to get the courage up to go and say, hey man, I wrote these songs for you, you know? What I thought about doing was just like doing an album of these songs and saying, these are songs I wrote for Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard. You know? And maybe they would get the message, you know? But I guess I'm just afraid of being turned down by them, because I really love them both so much, you know? And I mean, I really want them to do some of my songs, you know, because I wrote them for them, you know? And they really was an influence on me. And it would just break my heart, man, if I went and played them my songs and they didn't like them. You know? But maybe someday it'll happen. I mean, John's aware of me and Merle's aware of me, you know? And maybe it'll all happen in time. I think what I want to do is prove myself to them where I'm on the same level. If I can get on the same level as they are. I don't want them to think that I'm trying to ride on their coattail or that I'm trying to use them to, you know, further my career. And so, like, you know, probably once when I get as famous as they are, then I won't have that mental block no more, and I can just walk in and say, okay, here's some songs I wrote for you, man. I sure hope you do them, you know.
Were they like the biggest musical influences on you?
They were partly.
Would you like a beer?
Yeah, very good.
They were partly responsible. I would say probably the biggest influence on me was Johnny Darrell.
Right.
Johnny Darrell turned my head completely around, man. He showed me where, you know, because I was really into country music, you know, plastic country music. And Johnny Darrell showed me where country music could really say something, man, you know. When he did an album called California Stopover.
Great.
And it just turned my fucking head around, man, you know. And from that point on, I mean, my whole thing changed, you know. I became a cosmic cowboy. And after Johnny, you know, I was influenced by Willie and by Mickey Newberry and by Christopherson and all those people, you know. And John Prine really had an effect on me, you know. I mean, I was already into everything, but John Prine was an opening act for me and Christopherson in New Jersey. And I mean, I just couldn't believe this kid when he played. I mean, he just blew me away, man. And another cat that's a new guy, man, who is not all that hip, you know, I mean, he's just real commercial, is Don Williams.
Yeah, I like
I
Don Williams.
really got off on him, man. Really did.
There's another guy that I've just started listening to some of his stuff, is Bob McGill.
Right.
Writes some good songs.
Sure did, man. Yeah, I like him too.
He does some of Williams stuff, I think.
Yeah, those cats are really doing a good number.
You never hear about him.
No?
would any of the underground singers appear on the opera?
I would probably be the only one, if any of them did. In Nashville, I guess that I'm Nashville's #1 outlaw at this point, you know, because like, you know, Chris lives in LA and Willie lives here, you know, and Nashville is like, you know, my town. And I've been there, you know, for like 6 years. And the strange thing about it is, man, is like no one really thinks of Waylon as an underground country act, except, you know, freaks that's out of Nashville. But in Nashville, Waylon is just a country singer, you know, and a good one. You know, he's a good country singer. But I can see a lot of people are really trying to capitalize on this whole thing that's going down, you know. And I don't want to really get into criticizing other entertainers, but there's a lot of just straight country and western singers that wouldn't even talk to me or to Chris when we walked into Pancake Man because we had long hair and he didn't want to be associated with us, you know. That are now letting their hair grow long, that are now, you know, wearing Levi's on stage, and, you know, they're really trying to capitalize on the fact that we're breaking out now. And they're trying to say, like, oh, we've always been this way, too, you know. And that's bullshit, man.
It's really funny when you corner somebody like that and ask them, when did you let your hair grow? And they say, it's always been like that.
Yeah, right. And then you show them pictures, you know, when they was a greaser. I cut my hair about, 2 months ago. And, well, just before the album come out, you know. I cut my hair once just before, you know, we did the album cover pictures. But it was still pretty long. Then I cut my hair again. And I cut my hair mainly because I just really got discouraged, man. I really got pissed off at people trying to tell me all this image bullshit and everything, you know. And I got to the point where I didn't even want to go into the studio. I mean, my friends had to, like, encourage me to go in there and do that album. And then when I signed with Neil Russian, you know, as a manager, and every other manager that I talked to, they came on to me like, well, you're going to have to cut your hair, you're going to have to quit wearing Levi's on stage, you're going to have to get some white shoes, you're going to have to, and, you know, and I just said, oh, man, fuck you, you know, man, you know, I'm not going to do that, you know. And Neil was the only one that I met that said, hey, whatever you want to do, you know, I mean, I'll represent you. In other words, like if people want to do a television show or they want to bring TV cameras in there, man, like, Neil tells them right up front, you can do what you want to do, but I'm going to tell you right now, man, David is going to be David. If he wants to say fuck, he's going to say fuck, you know? And if he starts a fight, he starts a fight, you know? I mean, that's him. And he's not going to water his motherfucking self down just because you got your TV camera there. So if you can't accept him as David Allan Coe, then don't fucking bring it, you know? Because that's my whole thing is based on truth and being real, you know? And I'm not going to be no plastic motherfucker for nobody, you know? Because I don't need it, man. I can live on my fucking royalty checks, you know? I don't have to be out here, you know, playing for the public. But I really like it. I get off on it, man. You know, few people do. But I'm one of the, I really love to entertain. I mean, I stay on the road as much as I can, man. And I love to play.
There aren't that many who really look forward to getting to the stage.
No. I mean, I not only do the shows, but then I go to the hotel rooms after and do 3 or 4 more shows. You know, I mean, I play as long as the motherfucker's there to listen, man. Willie's the same way. I mean, you usually have to come and get me or Willie off the stage, man, you know, if we're somewhere where people are listening to us. Because we'll just play until we can't talk, you know.
That is probably another have if you're going to make it big, I think. Obviously, if you're reluctant to play, it shows.
I was really surprised last night. There was a lot of people that we probably should mention that we haven't even talked about that was at the opening, man. You know, like Lee Clayton was there, and Jerry Jeff Walker was there, man. And of course Willie was there, and Waylon was there,
Kinky.
and Kinky Freeman was there.
That was a hell of a lineup.
I mean, that was almost as heavy as the John Prine thing in Nashville, you know, which was pretty heavy.
Was it Chris telling me that Dylan went to get a copy of your album in New York?
Yeah, Dylan, that was really strange. I went in and seen Erwin Siegelstein, and he says, well, guess who was just here to get one of your albums? And I says, well, who? He says, Bob Dylan. And I said, oh, no, man, you know. And then they told me when I was at Max's Kansas City that Dylan was going to come down. And I was really uptight about that because, I mean, God, you know, I'd really get off on, I wrote some songs for him too, man, you know. And I'm sort of still, it's funny, I'm sort of like a groupie in a way, man, you know. Like I collect T-shirts and, I mean, you know, anywhere that I go, I mean, I get autographs from people that I'm on shows with. I save newspaper clippings. I make scrapbooks, you know, because, I mean, I'm really into other people. I'm not just all into myself, man, you know. I mean, I really got off meeting James Taylor, you know, when I was in New York. You know, I met Art Garfunkel when I was in New York. And I really got off on that. And meeting Leon Russell was really exciting, you know. And it's strange because, like, all of these people who, like, you know, I really look up to, when they meet me, they just accept me real, like Willie, man, like we just like fell in love. You know, 15 minutes after we was together, we was like brothers, you know. And it's really good. It really does something good for my head to know that these people look to me the same way that I look to them. You know, that they respect me like I do them.
After trying so long, it must really be a great feeling.
It is. I really like it. I can't wait till we do the Nashville gig. I want you to.
That was really good.
I hope it's good, you know. Nashville gigs can go one way or the other, man. It's either really good or really bad, you know. Either, I mean, the people either come out to see you or they don't, you know. And usually when I play there, there's usually like a real lot of people because, you know, I very seldom play in Nashville. And like, I'm sort of like to Nashville what Dylan was to New York, you know. I'm like really the mysterious poet, you know. And it's like when I show up somewhere, everybody's like, right, you know, there's David. And it's really exciting, man, you know, because when you walk in a room, you can hear them whisper, just David, you know, I wonder if he's going to sing. And, you know, I get off on that, man. That's cool. I really get off on it. I love everything about show business, man, you know. I love groupies. Oh, man. I mean, you know, a lot of people put groupies down, but, man, they saved my life more than once, you know. I was really depressed, and it was really nice to have some chick, you know, that would come back to your hotel room with you and sit up with you till you come down from doing a show. And, you know, not so much the sex thing, you know. I mean, that's cool, too, but, you know, just being with somebody. You just want to be with somebody, man, you know. It's hard to do a show, man, and be really up, and then you have to come back to a fucking empty hotel room, you know, and sit there and look at four walls, you know. When 15 minutes ago you was like signing autographs and, you know, you was like the center of attention. And it's like, you know, really coming back to a stark reality thing, man, you know. It's really good.
Is it easy or hard for you to write in a motel room?
Oh, it's easy.
I do most of my writing when I'm on the road in motel rooms and planes.
You have to have, this is one thing I've always wondered about. Do you have to have complete privacy? Can you write when there's somebody around?
No. I got to really be by myself.
That's the only way I can write anything.
Yeah.
Other than writing a letter.
I couldn't write a fucking song at home to save my life, you know. I mean, because I'm always, someone's going to walk in or
It doesn't matter.
phone's going to ring. Or, I hate telephones, man, and television sets, you know. But they're a necessity. You have to have them. But I try to stay away from everything that is, you know, that'll pollute your mind. I don't wear a watch, you know. I mean, I really don't give a fuck about time, because time used to be everything in my life, you know. I mean, my whole world centered around what time it was, you know. When I was in prison, what day it was, what month it was, what year it was. And like people will come up and say, when are you playing someplace? And I said, man, I don't know. Ask one of the roadies, you know. All I know is they say, pick up a plane ticket, let's go. We go do the show, you know.
Do you usually write something straight through, say with a song like River, or do you carry an idea, maybe a line for a long time?
No, when I pick up a pen, I write a song, you know. And I very seldom, once I've written a song, I very seldom change anything. Because I usually write it right then if it takes 3 notebooks, you know. And I do it until I got it the way I want it. And then you know, once I got it, I have made a few changes, man, like, you know, I'll play a song for Newberry or for Shel Silverstein or somebody, and they'll say, David, I know what you're trying to say here, but I don't really think that you're painting a picture. I don't think you're saying the right thing. Maybe if you put it a different way, you know, maybe you should say something else right at this point, you know. And like in this song that's on the album, Old Man Tell Me, I played that for Newberry, and I forget what line I had in there, but Mickey looked at me and he says, David, what you're trying to say here is that you can't shake hands with a fist. And I said, God damn, Mickey, that's it, you know? And so I changed it, you know, to you can't, which that line just jumps right out of every time I hear that song, you know? And then I felt guilty about Mickey giving me the line for the song, right? So I came back with the line of, I once did my talking with a gun, which I thought was just as good a line, you know, to make up for the fact that I used his line on that. Sort of all goes together.
Do you want to talk at all about prison or when you were a biker, or do you not?
Well, when I was a biker, man, I mean, that's a whole new world, you know. And I really can't talk too much about when I was a biker, mainly because, you know, I was really a biker, and I lived a different kind of life then, and anything that I would say, you know, pertaining to when I was a biker, would just reflect on all my friends that are still, you know, still into that trip. And like the way that we always looked at things when I was a biker was that any publicity is bad publicity, you know, because people get them stereotype images of what you are. But I really loved it. You know, I really met some great people. I made some good friends. And I mean, I still, you know, am very close, you know, with the club. I'm very close with a lot of people in the club.
and I still party with them a lot. And they understand that the reason that I had to leave the club was for my career, you know. But believe me, man, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing right now, I would be an outlaw.
Obviously, freedom means a lot to you.
It means everything to me, man. It means everything to me.
To some people, I guess, who never even think that it wouldn't, but I don't know if I'm saying that right, but people who take it for granted.
Yeah.
The closest I ever came was 4 years in the Navy, which was really a bad experience. That doesn't compare, but I have an idea of what it's like. It wasn't the same extent the prison would be, but everything I did was ordered. They just tell me did anything I wanted to.
The biggest thing about prison, man, is the tension. You know, like when you're in prison, you never know from one minute to the next when some motherfucker's just gonna lose his mind and start stabbing people for no reason at all. And you might be one of them, man, that loses your life, you know, just because this guy couldn't handle it. And it's just a very intense, uptight situation, you know, all the time, constantly.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that would make you or break you.
Yeah.
You either get strong or you don't.
I know something I wanted to buy while I was here, and I didn't remember, man. I'll need to get some saddlebags. You know any better place we can get some?
I don't know of any place where you can just buy them off the rack. Capital Saddlery down on Roboto will make them. It's where Jerry Jeff gets his boots. I think they've got it made.
Really?
Lee Clayton got some. I don't know if he got them here or not, but he had actually.
Yeah, because mine got ripped off at the front.
I think they're closed on Saturday. Probably Jerry Jeff would know. He gets a lot of stuff. That's where I got the bells.
Yeah.
I really like this. Jerry Jeff had just about made the boots and hat shops in this town famous.
Yeah, I believe he has.
He's done a job for him.
That's great that he would do that, man.
Those people deserve it.
Well, it's good that Jerry Jeff cares, you know. Most people just don't give a fuck, man. They just would take all that for granted.
Did you have that made that briefcase?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
We had to walk down by the pool or something. It's really getting hot in here.
Really knocks on the ass.
Any bitch can get in this car and keep her pants on. Then the motherfucker's pants automatically start falling down as soon as they sit in the car.
Good? Fine. Oh,
we'll send you a picture.
yeah, we need a picture. It's on the wall. Yeah, they got work on that.
Posters.
Right.
We'll get their doctor has
You don't have to look hard.
You wear your white suit with it, boy.
I got a black rhinestone.
Got same color rhinestones all over, is that?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Couldn't match the feather, huh? You're messing with the hook.
That's it.
Screaming T. Ain't gonna do it?
We should bring this down more. What do you think?
You say so.
Huh?
A little more nervous.
I can't hardly see.
That's not the best mirror. There's a good one there. That does look like what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, Jerry just gonna be jealous, man.
He hadn't seen it, Brent.
Huh? What? Good.
I tell you, I'll tell you this secret. In the 16 months I've been here, I haven't seen a brim go out of here that wide. That's right.
In the RC,
That side.
What is you gonna? What you gonna raise?
Don't make Jesus like Jesus.
That's good.
He told me that I like to spell my
How was anybody?
Well, I cried that enough for waiting through there, so now I've been able to turn into a bride after that.
Waylon Willie come on stage and sing that. Everybody's
Y'all be good.
Take it easy.